So when I was in 6th grade, or actually not even, no, it wasn't 6th grade, it was 8th grade, in my English class, it was 2020, so it was online school, and I had this English class, and the English teacher, I don't know what, but she kind of struck me like as kind of intimidating, and she kind of like scared me a little bit. She kind of seemed mean, and we had this one homework assignment. It was to watch like a TED Talk or something, and I went away with my family on a little trip for like 2 days, and I didn't end up doing it, and I was terrified of what the consequences would be if I didn't turn in that assignment, and I was freaking out. I was terrified to click the Zoom link to join the class, and I actually just ended up not going to the class for like I think 2 weeks, and I didn't do any of the assignments, and I'm normally like a really good student, and I just didn't attend the classes or do any of the work because I was just terrified of. And then as the weeks went on, I was like, what would she think of me? Would she think I'm like a terrible student or something? And I think, yeah, so the 2 weeks passed, and I had like a D in the class. That was the lowest grade I ever had. And eventually my parents found out, and they scheduled me to have a one-on-one call with the teacher, a Zoom call. And that call, I mean, I don't remember much of the call itself. I kind of just remember what happened afterwards, in the long run. And basically I just realized that she wasn't this awful person that I thought she was. She was actually, the rest of the school year, she ended up being my favorite teacher, and she actually is probably one of the best teachers I've ever had, so far. And I had really bad anxiety in middle school, 6th, 7th, 8th grade for me. I had days, like periods of time where, every day I'd be crying, just not wanting to go. I'd be terrified of, what, like some of my teachers, my history teacher and one of my science teachers, and there was really no reason behind it. Like I was just a total mess, because I mean, one of the memories for me was there's that game that you play in class where you all sit in a circle, and someone says, like, say questions like, name your favorite dessert, and someone says, my favorite dessert is tiramisu, and then the next person goes and they have to repeat what the person before them said. So if you're all the way at the end, you have to try and remember what everyone said and then say yours. So it's like a memory game. And it got to me. I was only like the eighth person, so it was pretty easy to remember, but I just started crying because I was just so overwhelmed for no reason, and I have no idea why. And to this day, I mean, my parents had me go to therapy because it was that bad, and therapy didn't do anything. I was just having these anxiety attacks they had no reason for them to be happening. I was just so confused. But then circling back to that 8th grade Zoom call, that kind of made me realize, like, why am I thinking this way? What's making me so nervous? And the turning point for me was there was nothing that was making me nervous. It was just, it's all your brain. And I think what I like to do, well, I'm not really an anxious person anymore. But my strategy, going into high school and when it was still kind of lingering a little bit, I like to think of your brain as like a second person almost, because you have your brain, then you have like your inner monologue, which kind of seems like another person to me. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but that's how it feels to me. And I kind of just talk to my brain. I'm just like, why are you nervous about this? Like, what are you doing? You're just making your life so much harder. And that actually seemed to work. I mean, there are other things too that you can do that kind of wake your brain up, and your brain's just like, why am I overthinking this? Why am I making this into a way worse situation than it has to be? I think firstly, I mean, one of the best things, obviously, I mean, I talk about this in most of my videos, and I mean, you see me out here right now, it would be like, you know, just being out in nature, clear the mind, but you don't want to clear it to where you don't go over those anxious thoughts. You want to look at them and look them deep in their hypothetical eyes and be like, why are you here? One of the most important things for me was actually just what you do is you kind of think of what you're being anxious about, and then you kind of just like mock yourself for it. You kind of just like laugh at yourself. You're like, why would you possibly be worried for this? I mean, for example, I think one of the things for me would be, one of the things that I was most anxious for was just class in general and getting called on like randomly by the teacher. I think that was kind of the main thing for me. And you kind of just think about it and you're laughing. You're like why of all things? There are like way other things that you could be anxious about, but out of all things, it's this. So try to find a humor in it. I think that's really important. But then also, if you are feeling anxious, to me, the deep breaths and the counting to 10 or the whatever deep breath method it is, that never really worked for me. It was more so just distract your brain, because breathing, yes, it kind of clears your head for a little bit, but the anxiety kind of just comes right back. So to me, whenever you're just walking around or doing whatever you're doing, try and just like find a humor in whatever that is, no matter what you could be doing. You could be literally walking on the street, and if you just see some other guy walking, just like, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but yeah, just try and point something out that could be like funny and kind of just that you can leave your brain thinking about for a little bit to just distract you. And it really works. It's kind of hard to explain, but it really works. And then another thing would just be, another thing with nature would be like, you're looking out here and you're seeing, the water flowing, the wind blowing, all that stuff. And you kind of think, is any of this going to change based on what I'm thinking? Is the world going to change in any way based on what I'm thinking? And the answer will always be no. It only changes with action. It doesn't change with these thoughts. These thoughts are virtually pointless, and they just aren't doing you any good. So there's just no point in having them. And think of them, if you ever are feeling anxious and you can't really find a way to control it, just think, when this is over, because no matter what you're anxious for, if it goes bad, you learn from it and you become a better person. If it goes well, you're like, hey, why was I so anxious for this? Even if it does go bad, you'll still be like, why was I really anxious for this? Like, because if you have a presentation and you're nervous for, I had one last year. I had a biology presentation and I was pretty nervous for it, and it didn't really go that well. I kind of stuttered a lot and I was losing my train of thought, and it didn't go as well as I wanted it to be, but it was over. It's just like, it's just a presentation. It's not even remotely close to one of the most important things that's going to happen in my life. So just take everything lightly, and just try to remember that whatever you're being anxious for, there's no point in being anxious for that, and you'll come out stronger than you were before when you do that thing. Always think of it as like a positive thing. So instead of thinking like, oh, this might have this effect on me, be like more like, no matter what happens, this will have a positive effect on me. I'll grow, I'll be stronger, and I'll know how to deal with this more. And yeah, but also don't try to completely shut it down. You don't want to be this super like like not anxious guy. I mean, being anxious, you kind of want to have it a little bit, because if you try to shut it out and then you have that one big anxious moment, you're like, whoa, I don't know how to handle this, I'm kind of freaking out. No, you kind of want to, what I used to do, so like for a good example, it would be, since I was nervous to get called on in class randomly, what I would do is if the teacher asked a question, I would always, and if I knew the answer, I would raise my hand and be confident, and I would probably get it right, and I would be like, hey, this isn't so bad. So you kind of teach your brain that whatever you're nervous for isn't that bad. So when you do get called on randomly, you're like, oh, I kind of already experienced this before, and it's really not that bad. Like nothing's gonna happen. So kind of train your brain with little things that might make you anxious, but just kind of try and get out of your comfort zone, and then you'll just learn from it, and you know, it'll go away. So I mean, it's been about 5 years since I had a really bad anxiety moment. And I just take everything super lightly. I try to have fun with it, try to have humor with it, and I've been living a pretty good life. So I hope this helped you if you're nervous about anything. And if it didn't, you know, I'm sorry if you watched this whole video. But seriously, I hope whatever you're dealing with, because if it didn't really help, if this video didn't help you, it probably is something pretty serious. So I hope you, you know, I hope you find your way out of that anxious hole, and you just get stronger, and hopefully you don't have to deal with that, whatever you're dealing with, again. So thanks for watching. You know, I'll probably have another video about this week, and yeah, see ya.